I come to a nice secluded spot to film the final video on the 145. So here we go. It's all finished. It's all done. But the final few touches to it this morning. Nice coat of polish, coat of wax. Give the tyres a nice polish. I've just come back from a 30-mile drive just to make sure that everything's working fine. There's a couple of little knocks and bangs that I want to sort out. It's the size tyres really on the rear. I thought they would be perfectly fine, but we are getting a little bit of rubbage on the rear tyres when we go and have a speed humps. And now we're getting a little bit of rubbing from somewhere on the driver's side front suspension when you go over bumps as well. But other than that, it does drive really nice. It sounds really nice as well. Still a few more bits to do on it with, I just need to get some fog lights really. They're the only part that I haven't managed to get my hands on yet, but I'm hopefully going to be getting another 145 breaker over the next week or so. So here's the interior. Could do with another hoover out, that's going to get done later today. That's all the black interior that I've done. Headlining is not the greatest job in the world, but it looks a lot better than the standard grey creamy colour. I have also fitted a 156 JTS gear knob. Not entirely happy with it, but as soon as something better comes along I will swap that over. I also fitted a Pioneer head unit. It doesn't fit very well, the space is just too big for it. So I need to make some sort of fascia for it to make it fit just right. Under the bonnet now, so everything's working perfectly fine. I do want to get a standard airbox. I'm not very happy with that. It is a little bit restrictive when it comes to putting full power down, just purely for the fact that that's a little bit crushed in order to make it fit. So as soon as I can get my hands on a standard airbox, one of those will be going in it as well. But as I say, it does drive really nice. It sounds really nice. Let's start it up for you now. Another little problem I've got is it's idling too high. We need to sort out a better spring or something for there, because the idle just isn't quite as good as I'd like it to be. It's around 1200 RPM to 2000 RPM, so it is a little bit sticky. So there we go, that's the 145 project all finished. It's nice to finally get it all finished after what's been 2 years nearly. So I am taking it to a car show in Stafford on Sunday, a really retro show. So if you're there, I will say hello to you now. If not, I will insert some footage now of the show and some of the other cars there. But thanks for sticking with me on this one. It's nice to finally get it finished, and I'll see you in the next project. I am just on my way to the retro car show. I've now done 62 miles in the car, and it's behaving perfectly.
Turn left onto B5 405.
And that's the wife's phone with the sat-nav directions. So yeah, I've now done 62 miles, no issues at all. It's behaving great, drives great. So now we can see what other people think of it at the car show. It looks very much like a kit car rather than an F40. Pontiac Fiera, I do believe. So yes, we're nearly here, my first car show in it. Doing something I've always wanted to do. It's been probably 2 years since I've been to a car show, probably a bit longer than that. I think I was in my my blue 156 GTA, the last car show I went to up in Scotland. So it's going to be nice to meet some car people again. Right, we're here, we parked up. Let's have a walk around and see what's around today. I've seen quite a few Escorts here, quite a few Minis, quite a few cars I'd wish I'd have owned in the 90s and 80s. Quite a few I wouldn't be able to own. So that's a car which is definitely a future classic. It is the old BMW 3 Series Cabriolet. I am quite partial to those. Never owned one. Never driven one, I don't think. It's always been the newer BMs I've driven. But yeah, I do like those. They are a really nice, well-styled car. and they're holding up well condition wise. Very nice indeed. I have spotted another old favourite of mine here, Punto GT Turbo. Not a fan of this yellow, but I am a massive fan of the Puntos. I think they're cracking cars, especially back in the day. They were quite fast, very moddable. They were the first car to come out with the high level rear lights. I think they won Car of the Year in 1995 as well, or 94. I've owned my first, well, I think what got me into Alfas was a Punto. I had a brand new Punto Sporting in 1998 in a very nice light metallic blue. And it wasn't long after I had that car that I had another Punto GT, a couple of Punto Cabriolets. Well, the ex-wife had one anyway. I've always been a massive fan of the Puntos, and that's what got me onto Alfas once I'd finished my days with the Puntos. I'm also a huge fan of my American cars. Yeah, I just love the 70s, 80s styling of American cars, well, some of them anyway. The less boxy cars. Also love the sound of the big block American V8s. Yeah, there's some cars I'll never ever consider them to be classics. I think no matter what they are, they're not going to ever be desirable enough to be considered a classic. Very nice V8 Capri there. Heard this coming in and it sounded absolutely lovely. Lovely stuff. Definitely one of my 90s favourites. Always a dream of mine to have an Escort Cosworth, but I think that moment's passed now. It would ruin it for me now if I drove one now. It's definitely one I want to keep in the past. One of the first cars my first car of my own was a Mark 1 Orion 1.6 gear. Absolutely love the thing. It seemed so fast back in the day, and you got central locking and electric windows. This is the Mark 2 Orion, so the Mark 1s, you never ever see them on the road anymore. We see an Alfa. Not really considered retro yet, but it's here. So yeah, second Alfa I've seen at the show other than mine today. Here's one of the cars, the embarrassing cars I used to own many years ago. I sold a Mark II Punto Sporting. Didn't really like the car when I had it, and partexed it with one of these Tigras in this colour, believe it or not. I think I had it about 3 months, and then I partexed it and bought my very first Alfa. So that's a story that's just popped into my head I totally forgot about. Yeah, I had a Tigra before I owned my very first Alfa 156. Never got over how tiny the rear space was. You think you've got no room in the back of your GTVs and Breras. But yeah, as well as having no seat room, you've got no headroom either. Spotted another car. One of those ones I always wanted back in the day. Absolutely swooned over them when I saw one on the roadside. Remember going to my dad to the Volkswagen dealer. I must have only been about 15, and sat in a Corrado, and that had me sold. But again, it's one of the 90s cars. Thoroughly love them to pieces, but never owned one, and don't think I ever will. Have a look at this lovely Alfa here. Now, this is another car that I always loved as a child. I had a Renault 5 Turbo, never owned one, and a friend of mine had one, and I had to do some repair work on it, and I think I've refurbished the carburetors on it, and then I drove one. Yeah, never going to own another one in my life. I absolutely hated the way they drove. The steering wheel literally moved in your hand, left, right, up and down, and it didn't, well yeah, it wasn't a very nice car at all. I did own a Mark 1 Golf, which I restored. It was a one lady owner car, probably one of the first cars I actually put a lot of time and effort into, and made it look very nice indeed. But I actually sold it to start Italia Autos up. always regret selling it because it was a lovely car. And sold it to a 17-year-old kid as his first car, so I should really check the registration and see if it's still on the road now. I bet it's been killed now. Yeah, one of these cars I'd love to own, but I just think it'd be far too expensive to maintain. But they are absolutely beautiful cars. It's a proper 2-litre as well by the look of it. They're cars that are starting to creep up in value now, these old Porsches. I think remember when in the 90s you used to be able to buy these for about 500 quid with rust everywhere, but those days are now gone. I was never a fan of the steering wheels in these for some reason. Nice selection of Escort Cosworths here, that's 4 now. Well, I actually think this one at the end isn't a Cosworth. Comments below on what you think of the front end of this one. I'd definitely say it's a done up SI, I'd say, rather than a Cosworth. Yes, I think I'm confirmed with that, because we don't have any of the centre dials on top of the dashboard. I was always a fan of the Escorts. I used to own a P-plate Escort SI in this colour. Absolutely loved the thing. No, nothing ever went wrong with it. I think it had a clutch in the 3 years I owned it. That's all it needed. It was a very good car indeed. Yeah, fond memories of my Escort. But yeah, let me know in the comments below on what you think about some of the cars we've seen today, and what was your first car, and what car did you always want from the 80s, 90s, which you'd either still want to own today or don't think you'd be able to own purely because of the memories of it. I still shudder at the thought of Metros becoming classic cars. Mitsubishi GTO, another car from the 90s I absolutely loved. First time I saw one of these was in America, where they were called a Dodge Stealth in America, and I just thought that back in the 90s they looked absolutely epic, super carish back in the day. Always wish I'd got the chance to drive one back then, but again I don't think it's one of the cars I'd like to own today. Plastic-tastic on the inside, but cracking engine inside them. Yeah. Focus Cabriolet, not one of Ford's better efforts at designing cars. That's a pretty little thing there. That's one thing that's ruined me about old Ferraris, is whenever you look at them you always just think, is it an MO2 or a Pontiac Fiero, or whatever you call them, which is what I think that one is there. Yeah, comments below on that one please. Another car I always wanted back in the day, going back to the motor show in London, and they had the Tigra and the Calibra there. I think there were some fantastic looking coupes back in the 90s, and the Calibra was definitely one of the better looking ones. Sort of a smooth looking coupe. Never owned one, always wish I had, but after sitting in one a couple of years ago I'm very glad that I haven't purchased one recently. But yeah, I still do enjoy looking at them. Same with the Ford Probe, absolutely awful car, but absolutely quite like the styling of them, especially the 24 valve version. Some unusual looking ones over here. Mad Max look, I'd say. This one definitely got some unique styling features. That is absolutely gorgeous, that is. Yep, I'd happily own one of those. Every single inch of that is just styled to perfection. Nearly missed this one on the way down. 2 litre 155 wide body for sale for 3,000. If anybody's interested. Oh, sorry. Pretty tidy. Rear arches have a little bit of rust coming through. Same wheels that I've got on my 145. So yeah, it looks pretty tidy. If anybody's interested, that one is for sale. A big Plymouth, I think that is. Needs a little bit of TLC, but still a very nice car. And those who know me know I would absolutely love a 1950s, 60s American pickup. F100 or C10. I would definitely snap one up if I ever got the chance. Yeah, it's one of the cars I would love to do another back to bare shell restoration on. I think that's it now, that's all the cars. So unless I spot any more, thanks for watching. Let me know your comments below and some of the your first cars and what you thought of them and your dream cars. And we can have a bit of a chat about that down below. So see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.